Hey there, today we are going to fill a bunch of sketchbook pages and I'm going to use these White Nights granulating watercolors. I really wanted to try these. I love these cooler toned colors, but you can recreate the things that I do in this video with any other type of art material or watercolors. But at first, I just wanted to unbox them and do a little bit of swatching. I'm not gonna go super into detail about the watercolors, just showing you that these come wrapped, sort of like candy. It's kind of fun to unwrap them, but it also takes a bit of time. So I would do that if you feel like you want to do something cozy for the day. I don't know. Some watercolors come wrapped like that, others don't. I think it protects the watercolors in the transport probably, and it also has some additional information on the wrapping itself. Here's what the palette looks like. All of the colors are really dark in the palette, so the swatching was really needed. And yes, the swatches are upside down right now. I did that so I wouldn't smudge my colors. I really tried my best to not get them mixed up. Unfortunately, with this swatch sheet, the names of the colors weren't on there already, so I had to write them on there. But I mean, at least they do give you a swatch card, and I guess you can arrange them the way you want to and also switch out colors this way so you can choose which one is. And with a color palette like that, switching out colors might be a good idea because you can see it's very monochromatic in a way. Here with the first page for today, I just wanted to play around with them and get a feel for what the colors look like. So I didn't mix them at all before using them here, but I did let them bleed into each other a little bit. So if you have some new colors or just want to play around with the ones you have and see what's in your palette, this might be a really easy warm up, fun page to do because it's basically swatching the colors but in a more fun way. I also wrote the color names on here as well so I know which is which, and I think it looks really cool with all of the granulating and the bleeding. And we're already on to the next page, and here I wanted to do something that makes sense with the colors that I have here. And with all of the pieces today, I'm just using these colors and not mixing in any other colors from other palettes. So I did an underwater landscape here, and I know I did an underwater scene in last week's video, but it looked completely different to this one here. First of all, last week was a gouache landscape, and this week we're using watercolors, but also the colors are very different. Here we have exclusively blue, purple, and green tones, and everything that's in between those. And we don't have as many colors. So I like this piece so much more than the one I did last week because it looks just a lot more cohesive, and I'm just really happy with this one. It is rather simple in a way. It's not overly complicated. It works really well on a sketchbook page because it's not something that has to be really big and have a lot of details, but it still really works, and that's why I like this one a lot. You can see that I did this manta ray, I think they're called, and I did this castle, like an underwater castle, and also another fish in the foreground. And I kept it as simple as possible while still adding some fun things in there. And I also wanted to use all of the colors, and at first I was using them as is, and then later on I mixed them with each other a little bit. I really like this very vibrant purple tone here, and I like the more turquoise tone in the set a lot as well. I have to say that I was struggling a bit with the fact that the colors all look really similar. I know I expected that when I bought this set. This is not like your go-to one set that you're gonna have. It's an addition to an already existing collection of colors. So I wanted to get new colors that I don't have already. And also these are very granulating, which means you're gonna see a lot of texture in the painting. So these are specialty paints. They're not the go-to main palette that you're gonna have. But still, there's a lot of colors that look very similar in this palette. So I'm definitely looking forward to using this palette with my other White Nights palette that I have, so that I have more colors to choose from. And actually, for this week's live session for the Cozy Creatives Collective, my online art membership, we are doing the theme underwater. And I think I'm going to use a few of these here and there, as well as my other White Nights watercolors, so that people can recreate the piece even if they don't have the exact colors. I'm always very big on telling you all that you can recreate your pieces however you want with your colors. You can, of course, use the same ones as me, but you don't have to. You don't have to let that stop you if you don't have the exact same materials. So if you want to see a much slower and live version of an underwater scene with watercolors, and I'm probably also gonna use a bit of colored pencils, then make sure that you sign up for the free trial for the Cozy Creators Collective, and then you can join the live session, check out all of the other stuff as well, because there's a lot in there already now. We have 2 longer pre-recorded art classes. We have the session that was 2 weeks ago. There's a recording of that. And there's gonna be this one. It's gonna be Saturday, June 22nd. It's 4 p.m. Central European Time. So if you can attend live, then I mean, that would be amazing. But if you can't, there's gonna be a recording, so you can check that out afterwards. Also, if you see this in the future, which is pretty likely on YouTube, then you can still check it out later on, because it will still be available. And there's gonna be live sessions every other week, and then art classes on the alternating week. So there's always gonna be new content all the time. And there's also gonna be a growing collection of all of the content that's already in there. And also, if after the free trial you decide you want to join permanently, right now the price is locked for you and it won't get any more expensive if you join now. So even if in the future I decide to raise the prices, because at some point we're going to have more and more stuff in the membership, so I'm probably going to raise the price, it's gonna stay the same for you if you join now. So for a little bit, I'm gonna keep the price as is. I'm gonna link all of that info in the description box, where you can check out the membership and learn more about it. And also the free trial, it's no strings attached. If you don't add a payment method, and you don't have to, it's just gonna expire. So you can just sign up, check it out. If you like it, of course, I'm going to be really happy if you join permanently. So there's that, a lot of info about the membership. I'm so grateful to everyone who already joined, and I can't wait to see what everyone is going to create on the next live session, because I really love seeing all of the results. Some people follow along with what I'm doing, like a class or a tutorial, and other people use the theme and create their own art, which is also really exciting to see. I like to pick themes where you can come up with your own stuff easily, and because we have this underwater focus right now kind of on my channel, from the suggestions that I got, I picked the underwater theme, and there's gonna be a lot more fun stuff to come. Yeah, you can see that the piece is coming together. Like I said, I'm really happy with this one. These colors bring me so much joy. even though I really had to think about how to use them because there's not that much of a variety in colors here, obviously, I think that challenge worked so well in the end because it created this cohesive palette. And most of the colors that you can see are probably from the Lilac Mist, which is this very vibrant purple, and the Aquamarine Mist. So I think these and maybe the green tones carried most of this piece. The others look a little bit gray. They do also vary in their granulation a bit, so you can get a lot of different effects, and I'm looking forward to using them more and figuring out how to use them. I had this set in my cart for so long and wanted to get it, and I recently finally bought it. It's been a while and I've wanted it for a while, and I'm glad that I got it. And I might, because these are available open stock, I might actually replace a few, maybe 2 or 3 colors that are similar to each other and put some different colors in there, because then I think it could actually become a go-to palette if I add a few warm colors, maybe a magenta and a yellow, and then we're already good to go. For the most part, it would already be a really useful palette because we have the aquamarine, which would make a good mixing color, because then we have the main colors, the cyan, magenta, and yellow, and we could basically mix everything. So maybe I'm gonna do that because then I could use this palette a lot more. I find it hard to make custom palettes because people then ask me in the comments what my materials are, and then it's getting harder to link to those and tell people what it is. But I have to find a balance somewhere where I don't limit myself too much with these things. So we will see. I might have to update my materials list at one point. This is something that I have been postponing for a while because it's a lot of work to update all of the products that are my go-tos that I use. I might do an updated video about this at some point, and maybe then also do a landing page where you can see an overview of all of those. Let me know how interested you would be in that. My last favorite art materials video actually worked really well on YouTube, so maybe that's something that's interesting to you all. So we will see. But right now I have a lot of stuff planned for the next few months. There's a lot of stuff coming up. Now that I'm watching this coming together, this piece, I really remember why I liked it so much. I don't know. These colors work so well together, and I love this combination of simplicity and all of the effects. I tried to really have a lot of effects in the background and get a lot of the bleeding and the granulating. Basically, this is what they are for. These colors are meant to create a lot of texture, and it was really fun to do that here. And now with the tape coming off, it looks really clean and finished, and I don't know why, it's so simple, but I love it. Then for the next one, unfortunately, for some reason I didn't record the first part, which I don't know how that happened, but it did. But you can see that I did these very simple flowers, and I just wanted to do something quick and easy here, play around. This was one of those pieces where I just head in and do something, throw color on the page with no plan. And I also wanted to use more of the colors that I didn't use on the left side, mainly this sort of brown color. It almost looks brown. I'm sure it's some type of purple as well, but it is really desaturated and I wanted to make it work, but I just didn't like it, especially for the flowers. It looked like they're dried up. So later on, I tried to get the more saturated colors of the palette back in, and you can already kind of see the limitations of a palette like that. With the piece on the left, it worked so great because it's a theme that I picked based on the palette, and then on the right, it's just something, the florals are just a go-to with watercolors. It's a very basic idea for watercolors, but I wanted to do this idea with this palette specifically and see how it turns out, because I think this palette wouldn't be the first thought when you're thinking about doing florals. And so here you can see I added more colors on top so that it's more vibrant. Looking back at this, I don't think it looked that bad, but in the moment I felt like it really needed to pop a little bit more. So here I added more and more and more, and then I decided to do a background because it was already a little bit messy, and I thought that it would make the piece look a little bit more cohesive again if I did a background. And I mean, I don't mind it. It was fine before I added all of these sort of aqua colored blobs in the background. It looked just fine as it was, but I wanted this to stay loose, but I didn't feel like it worked that well, so I decided to allow myself to add more details with colored pencils, just so I would have a result that I am really happy with. But I want to experiment more with these more loose watercolory things. I've always found it really hard to create loose pieces because it's such a trial and error. So at first I tried to still make it work with the background, and I wanted it to kind of pop in front of the background. I think that it did make it look better because after it all dried, it looked like the flowers were blending too much into the background. So now it kind of looks like a cutout and it has a little bit more contrast. And I also added more details with the watercolors because I wanted it to work with just watercolors. But I did then go ahead and add colored pencils anyways, just to refine it a little bit more. And I am pretty happy with how it turned out, even though it was not how I had planned it. I wanted it to look a lot more loose in the beginning. But yeah, with the loose things, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't, then I'm just adding more stuff on top of it to sort of pull it together and make it work. And more details somehow for me is always easier than less details, because the simpler something is, the easier it is to tell when things aren't perfectly right. So the more details I add, the better it often looks. I mean, sometimes you can also go overboard, but yeah, those are just my thoughts on that. But yeah, I did introduce a color that wasn't really in the palette here, this more pinkish purple tone. These are Prismacolor colored pencils, by the way. I think that they worked really well for the type of colored pencil work that I did here. It's not really line art, but it is more adding details and shading. For line art, I would probably use colored pencils that are a little bit harder, but these are really soft. And since I was using a rather rough paper here, I think that these did the job pretty well, and harder colored pencils would have probably been not as easy to work with. So yeah, it's really coming together now, and I think especially the white colored pencil added a lot of pop to the piece and just made it look more finished. Like I said, not the vibe that I had initially planned, but it looks good to me. I'm happy with the result. If you want to join our live session tomorrow, then don't forget to join the Cozy Creators Collective. Also, you can watch the replay, you can watch all of the past classes, and there's weekly royalty-free reference pictures that are high quality as well. And I'm currently creating custom mini paintings for each new member. So I'm currently trying to catch up on those. And all of these things you could get access to if you join the collective. Check out the link in the description box below. And I hope that I will see you there. And until next time, goodbye.